I think the sessions after this time is always very boring, so I will try to keep as as entertaining, or I would say as connected as possible. So I'm Pritam, founder of Zoth. Zoth is my third startup. Prior to that, I had a food tech venture. I also worked in the Valley at Dollar Shave Club and Unilever. So the Zoth story started in 2023. Nobody really spoke about RWA and stablecoin at that point. Around Q4 last year, we saw major spike, especially as the interest started coming in. Lot of protocols. We got over 1 million users on our platform, and our TVL jumped at peak to close to around 100 million. We were rated as one of the top 10 startups in the RWA PayFi space. In fact, the Ethereum Foundation spoke about us as one of the top 5 fastest growing startups in terms of TVL growth. You know, when you grow fast, you also attract attention. So Lazarus Group, possibly, we were quite popular in Korea, especially in terms of LP and community, saw us, our systems were hacked, and we basically were hit by almost a 9 million setback. Now, this was primarily attack on our treasury, attack on our systems, and for any startup, especially a Series A, we are a pre-Series A startup, there are two choices. Data says that 95% of crypto startups shut down within 3 weeks of such any hack, because there is a reputational loss, there is a loss of, I would call, trust, everything. So as a team, we had two options, basically shut down. In fact, I was in an investor call who said, hey guys, you just shut shop, you are a great team, you can build something else. But when we went back, we had a huge community, especially people who believed us. There was a huge backing of investors who have raised close to around 20 million across various rounds. So for us, it was a point of reflection. Should we give up, or we should keep going? And one thing which one of my mentors told me, that the biggest companies of crypto had their own failures. If you look at Binance, if you look at Tether, if you look at some of the greatest companies in this space, all of them have faced a challenge. And that's what at Zoth we took. My journey has been, before starting Zoth, I spent almost a month trekking Everest. I went to one of the highest peaks, and that journey taught me a lot of things, especially about resilience, about pushing your limits. And there are 7 learnings which I learned in that trek, which I try to kind of use, especially in the period post the hack. The number one is that you are never fully ready. So when the hack happened, this is the first time you are having a $10 million hack. So we were never ready. I didn't know what to do. And one of the first things we tried to do was, we saw that there was a constant attack on our systems from North Korea and China and multiple places. So our options was that we immediately froze all our assets. We started talking to our community, and we thankfully got, initially first 2 weeks, we got a lot of heat, but there was a lot of support that started coming up. So you are never really ready, means you can put all the systems. We had some of the best engineers from MIT building our systems, but you are never fully ready when a crisis hits. The challenge is how you react to a crisis defines everything. I didn't sleep for almost 7 nights. But then we started, look, it has happened. We can't change what has happened. What we can change is how we react to it. So we stopped reacting. We started kind of looking at every response and taking it forward. And the first thing we did was having a very transparent communication to all stakeholders, saying that, look, this has happened, and this is what we are going to do next, especially around recovery, around freezing the assets, especially going after the perpetrators. The second thing was, okay, we all have big goals, but sometimes goals change, means there are setbacks, etc. that happen. So one of the things that happened for us primarily is we looked at what is the most important thing that we need to do. So the most important thing for us was to communicate a very clear recovery plan to the community. We were up with that within 48 hours. Everybody in the community know how we are kind of planning and taking it forward. As I mentioned, we had 2 options, choices. The choices for us after the hack was shut down everything, close. We still at peak had close to around $100 million logged in our protocol, or basically move forward. And we had a community call. I spoke to more than, I think, 300 plus people as a founder, and everybody obviously goes after the founder because they think, okay, this is the only guy you should pin. And I was like, look, there are 2 options for us. You all are community members. You are part of the future of Zoth, and with close to around 200,000 people in our community, it's a very difficult task to placate everyone. But our point was that, look, we have 2 options. You tell us what we want to do. And I think we got a lot of support as we built. And for us, it was like, let's move forward. I think this is one incident, and I see Zoth moving forward to be much bigger than this. So we started moving ahead. And most importantly is we decided to take help of our partners. I have been building Zoth for close to 2.5 years. And along with the team, we had some of the greatest partners. We were with Chainlink, we have one of the top audit companies, legal partners, other partners. All of them we asked for help. We sought help and all of them provided support. We had access to law enforcement starting from FBI and some of the top law enforcement agencies, Zero Shadow, etc., to ensure that we can come back faster and move together. And I think the lesson 5 was that in crisis, I think most important thing for us was to stay calm. So we focused on communication, being transparent and communication. There was a point in which a lot of our lawyers suggested don't talk about anything. And one thing I was very clear that it's not just us. A lot of our reputation of the entire team is at stake. So the worst thing would be to not communicate. So we went overboard on communicating, sharing every single detail about what's going on, how things are changing, and how we are moving from here. And yeah, finally, things started getting better. We kind of froze more than half of the assets. We were able to close a liquid deal, which basically repaid most of our users. And we also were able to identify the perpetrators and go after him. So everything is a destiny. We were never sure we will be able to do all of this, but the most important part was that we were able to enjoy this whole journey. And, it was a tough journey, and a lot of stress. But for me, I used that time to really focus on health, getting my mental health back and focusing on rebuilding rather than just looking at what went wrong. And finally, I think all of this boils down to team. And I mentioned briefly, it's not just your internal team, but people who really believe in you. We had the backing of some of that West venture fund, but most importantly, there were 200,000 plus community that backed us. And every member of our community, basically, we did a poll, stood behind us, and I think that kind of made a lot of difference. Some of them I have actually called out. These companies really went far and beyond to help us during the crisis. So in this entire journey, one of the things we have learned is the biggest, for me, the biggest measure of success for an individual is never intelligence, or it's never the amount of capital they have. Because one thing which basically we learned from this experience, the biggest success is grit and the ability to fight back when things are not going their way. So in Zoth, we have now built this framework called the Phoenix framework, which means that every individual who comes in the company has to have some chip in their shoulder, which means, if you look at the SEAL team or the, the A team, they should have failed in life, because only then they will understand how difficult it is to build things and face every challenge that life throws at. So the Phoenix way, Zoth, is now our mantra of how we hire, how we build, and how we look after every challenge. And after this, nothing seems difficult for us. Means you throw any challenge at us, we can build and move from there. And where are we now? Means at peak, we are at 100 million, then we had the hack, but then things started moving. We just reimagined how we will move forward. We changed from just a yield-bearing stablecoin, which we were, to a full-stack stablecoin OS. Last month, we closed a $15 million deal where our entire to finance our growth. And we are on 25th, we are announcing another strategic announcement in top of token 2049. But all of this wouldn't have possible because the day the hack happened, I had an option to give up. But we as a team decided not to give up. So the message is always for all of us that life will always throw us challenges. It's for us to decide, do we give up or we keep building? Thank you.